Hey guys, RW down here in the shop. We got a little rain coming down, so I'm going to talk loud so you can hear me. This is a Crosman Mark I. It's a vintage air pistol. They just don't make them like this anymore. This thing weighs about as much as a 22, maybe a little more actually. It's got a wonderful, wonderful trigger. There's no CO2 in the pistol right now. But I just want to show you this thing has an incredible trigger. That's like 2 pounds, feels like to me. Lightest trigger I've felt in a long time. Just wonderful features all over. Just a beautiful gun. I like where the safety is. You know, I like how it loads. Everything. It's just a really, really cool design. I like the all-steel blade. I like the nice barrel. Yeah, it's just a really fine gun, really, I think. Anyway, a client asked me if I would develop some wood grips for this pistol. And this pistol is not easy to fit grips on. I just want to show you real quick a couple of things about these grips. First of all, this is the side, the trigger finger side. Okay, it's a little bit thicker. That's about 1/8 of an inch. And right in here, between here and here, according to my calipers, it's just a tad over 1/8 of an inch. It's talking about minimums on wood of 1/8 of an inch. And when you start talking about stuff like that, you start talking about the danger of wood blowing apart when you're machining it, sanding it, handling it, and then later it fracturing just from the screws. And just in general, it's just such a thin piece that wood by itself is kind of a sketchy material to want to use for that. But I'm going to sidestep those issues by fortifying the wood. I'm going to stabilize it using some cactus juice and my vacuum pump in my oven, and I'm going to heat catalyze resin into the saturated wood, permeated cell structure of the wood, so that will prepare the blanks for machining. So that's one step of the process. The other step of the process is I cannot just run something through the table saw and bandsaw and do some hand sanding like I do with my other grips. I'm going to have to develop router templates that are very precise, that I can locate precisely each and every time on the wood blanks. I'm also going to have to drill the wood blanks, I believe. I don't think I'm going to be able to route this. I'm going to have to drill some of this. And I'll explain what I'm talking about. As you can see, you've got a CO2 cavity. Okay? And that just happens to be just about exactly 1 inch. 1 inch will do it. So I have a nice, sharp, brand new 1 inch Forstner bit that'll get me part of the way there. Not all the way, though. So that's kind of frustrating. I don't think they make long shank versions of these that I'm aware of, so not really sure. I guess there's going to be some hand carving and Dremel work at the end there to get that last little bit is what I'm guessing. Plus, obviously a drill bit's not going to leave a nice rounded over thing. I'm not saying that I would have to, but it would be nice because the wood is so darn thin. The more wood I leave, the longer these grips will last, and the more sturdy they'll be. Another thing about this is with thin material like this, you're talking maybe a 1/4 of an inch thickness here, but where the screw is actually going to be pushing against wood and holding this down, we're talking about 1/8 of an inch. So asking the screws by themselves to do all the work is a lot to expect. So what I'm going to be doing is pocketing the wood into these cavities. And instead of being able, like with this casting, just to bridge it with a few webs, which is what they've done here, they just bridged it. And I want to show you how that sticks out proud, about 3/16 of an inch or so. Okay, it sticks out proud, okay? Well, I'm going to have to, first of all, create a router template just to route this outside profile. Okay, that's fine. So now I've got that. Then I'm going to have to make another template that follows this pocket, and as you can see, according to my grip overlay, that's about a 1/16 of an inch. There's just not a lot of wiggle room, not a lot of play at all in these things. That's why it's going to get nerve-wracking towards the end. If any little tear out, any little blowout, there's no room to move it over and fudge anything. You just have to throw it away and start again. So, as you can see, I've got to make, first of all, this is just a regular template like you would route it on a pattern bit. And it'll give you a blank of wood that is this profile. Not this shape, obviously, this outside profile. Then, create another piece that'll actually stick on the wood blank again. This time I'll be using my plunge router and following it with my template collar, so I have to allow for that 1/16 of an inch. And then I'm going to be blazing the blank down so that it leaves a flat. And it's only going to leave that little 1/16 of an inch flat on either side. Okay? Except for this area, which will be bigger, just like on here. There'll be a bigger flat area there. I'm not going to worry about accommodating this. That I'm going to do on the drill press. So then I'll have that piece. Then I've got one more thing I got to route. Got to route the slot, okay, which I think you can see is about a 1/16 of an inch deep slot that I got to route. So that's another little template I'll have to make. So I'll have to stick that on the wood blank in a precise way, and then just take that little 1/16 and mortise that, okay? So in a sense we're mortising, and we're leaving a chunk of wood proud. That, if this wasn't in the way, would pop right in there pretty much. Then I got to, you can see there's these little webs of metal in the way and little stuff. My router is not going to be precise enough to leave little chunks of wood proud that can go around that. It's just not going to work out. But I can come down to here probably, and I should be able to get this little sliver here. Because what I'm going to be doing is making the whole thing proud. Now, I've got yet another area that I'm going to need to either hand carve or route. Now, you can see this is like got an angle to it. I can't accommodate for that with my router. Because my router is just going to want to make a square pocket. But I could get these two flats, and then I could hand carve that angle. Should be balls of fun, let me tell you. But I could route this flat, so that could be yet another router template that I'll have to stick on around it. And this one would have a hole in it, just that size, so that I would route the grip material and take this little bit off that's square. So I got to drill it, and I got to route it. So I route it, drill it, route it, and I'm still not done. Because now I just have big blocks of wood that if I did everything right, will snap on. Even without screws, would fit really nice. These fit a little loose, which is why the screws want to break these plastic areas, because the screws are trying to do too much work. I'm going to try and make my wood fit really tight to this, so that it snaps on there, doesn't want to wiggle, and then the screws basically just holding it to the sides with no side force. Okay. So, that's where I'm headed. Got a lot of work ahead of me, obviously. And I've got to get everything to align correctly. I've got to get everything to fit correctly. There's no guesstimating. I can't just stick a piece on there and think, well, I hope that's in the right place. I've got to have some kind of fixture, some kind of guide that will allow me to place that in the exact right place every time. And I'm thinking that these are going to end up being the guides, because you really can't go wrong with that. So if I'm using screws, the screw holes to line everything up, everything is going to line up. These screw holes go through from side to side, so everything can be symmetrical at least. So I can make one of these, and I can make one of these, and I can make one of those, and I can make one of those. So I don't have to make like a whole bunch of templates. I just have to make like 4 or 5 of them. Alright, then I have to, without screwing anything up, take 2 big chunks of wood. You can see now this one is going to want to be big and thick. Thick walnut isn't just hard to find, you know. It's hard to find good quality, even if you can find it. Is it good quality? This can be very thin. It would be nice if the 2 pieces matched. So here we are trying to take 2 pieces out of a, say, I usually do it this way. I take the 2 pieces out like this. So I'll have 2 blanks. I'll cut them here so that when I fold them up and you look at the bottom, you'll see the grain, and the grain follows through. But it would be a tremendous waste to take a giant thick piece of wood like this and produce this thin grit. And I'd be much better served to resaw and have thin sides and thick sides. And then in order for that to work out correctly, okay, because I'm taking this chunk now, I'm going to be putting my drill bit through it, right? And I'm going to be taking an 1-inch wide hole out of it. So obviously I want to use sacrificial wood in the center, something that doesn't matter, that it's not going to be a part of the grip. I don't care what it is. Just any kind of wood, any kind of material to put in the center that's easy to drill. And I'll temporarily glue my slabs, my unformed slabs, onto that, drill that hole. So I think one of the very first things I got to do is I got to route blanks, I got to drill the holes, I got to get everything to sock up correctly. Then I could probably through bolt these together through some sacrificial material with a few dabs of glue here and there. Drill it. Now I've got a lot less to route. Route it to leave this proud area, right? Do some hand carving, some hand forming so that it'll fit around all these things and get in here. Hand carve it all. Then there's this little curve here. There's always got to be one extra little thing that's going to make life extremely difficult. And you can see what that is. This little relief. So you think you're done. You think you've got something that may fit. Not yet, you don't. You've got to get it to fit against this one last little curve and leave almost no material at all behind. Just a wafer. It just comes to nothing now. Same here. You can see that that's just like nothing. You know how wood is. That's like the piece that's gonna want to break off. You can be doing everything, and then you'll get right to the end, and you'll do this little bit of sanding, and this piece will break off, and then what do you got? Nothing. So it's a very nerve-wracking job in my mind for a woodworker, despite the fact that I understand how to do it, and I believe that I am competent and proficient enough to do it. I cannot predict what the materials will do under duress, and that's the stress. But we're going to go for it anyway, man, because that's just how we roll.